All right, we are live from Doak Campbell Stadium, South Florida, Nashville, Tennessee. My name is Pat Burnham. I'm an Osceola football analyst and the host of Seminole Sidelines. And this is First Impressions with Osceola football analyst Mark Salva and Osceola recruiting and football analyst Charles Fishbein as FSU rolls to an impressive 66-13 victory over Southern Miss. Guys, it was pretty much what we thought it would be, maybe even a little bit more impressive than we thought it would be. Mark, FSU rolled up 554 yards, including 306 yards on the ground. Southern Miss's 258, 104 on the ground, and I believe 154 passing. Just your overall take on the game. We saw FSU clear the benches. We're going to talk a lot about the young kids. I know we were all impressed with some of the kids we saw tonight. But, Mark, I'll start with you. What were your impressions of this game? By the way, thanks for spending all day with me.
Right. Um, you know, the way the game started, you could tell it was a short week. Um, you know, late game. We weren't our sharpest. I think the game plan kind of played into that a little bit too. Um, but our talent, especially in the skilled positions, just really overcame Southern Miss. They didn't have enough, not even near enough. And on defensively, it was an impressive performance. I mean, they pretty much shut down their only threat, frustrated Frank Gore Jr. There just wasn't a lot they could do. So, we got the result we should have got for sure. There's a lot to coach on for this film. I found it interesting that we ran a lot of zone today. We didn't run a lot of counter, ran a lot of zone. The drops by Johnny Wilson today, it's just that's got to get corrected. I know nobody knows that more than Johnny. I know. And Jordan Travis, I mean, he put the ball in some good spots. Hannah threw a few, but I think for the most part they were on there, and just the drops just killed them. But I mean, we did what we were supposed to do.
Yeah, you took away their two best players. Obviously, Frank Gore Jr., 11 carries for 31 yards. And obviously, then their best receiver, Jacarius Gaston, 2 catches for 23. Billy Wiles never got in track, 11 of 34 for 154, 35% passing. Fish, what was your first take on the night?
66 points. I don't know how much you can complain when a team scores 66, and it was ugly on that other side. I was texting with you with Southern Miss. I don't remember ever seeing a Southern Miss team this bad. Like, they usually fight. This team was like one of those tomato cans that Tyson fought early in his career and just got laid out early. And Florida State, you sit there and you could go, oh, well, they didn't play that well maybe in the first quarter or something. But at some point, 66, it's hard to argue and find too many faults. Yes, they'll find something. I'm sure Norvell will find something on film. But, my biggest concern is that you play these kind of like trap games at some point in seasons where, teams, it's hard to get up. I remember talking to a coach that was at Florida State once. He always said it's easy to get the team up for Miami or Clemson or those games. It's these games where kids just naturally take their foot off the gas, but they didn't. They put it on a Southern Miss team, and they didn't stop. I forgot they were in the 60s at the end. I'm like, my wife walked in. She goes, "Oh, what's the score?" I said, "I think like 59-13, and it's 66 points." I mean, they could have scored 80 tonight if they really wanted to. They stopped throwing once AJ came in. They just were having him run around and just try to take time off the clock. But overall, I thought it was an impressive performance. This is what you want. There's going to be sloppiness in games like this, but overall they dominated from beginning to end. That's all.
It was an emotional week last week. It was an intense week last week. The game was late. Travel. Come back and quick turnaround for a game, and then sit around all day waiting for this game to happen. So I can understand why they came out the way they came out. I think the thing for me too was, the miss, we went for it on fourth down a lot of times because we missed a lot of third downs. That to me, we could have been sharper. It wasn't our A game. okay, you know what? Some great players made really nice plays, and we made some nice blocks, and put a lot of points on the board. But they definitely capitulated after, right at that first drive in the second half. So,
but how much of that sloppiness in the first quarter was maybe just having different receivers in there? It seemed like they were rolling a lot of guys in there, and you get comfort zones with. He's now comfortable throwing a key on. All of a sudden, you get somebody else in there that hasn't played, and maybe they run the route a little differently, and it throws your timing off. I think some of that could come in. Maybe you could elaborate more on that, but it just seemed like they were rolling in different. It wasn't like the same four guys from the first drive to the second drive to the third drive. It just seemed like they were rolling guys in, and it seemed like Jordan was a little off, mainly because the different guys that were in there. Maybe you could elaborate more on that.
No, I mean that has a little something to do with it. Maybe I just think just mentally, it's been a mentally exhausting week. And I know for us, just sitting there talking about the LSU win and the travel involved and all of that, it can wear on you. So you know what, put this game to bed. A true normal week. For the first time as we get into the rhythm of the season. I expect them to be a little better moving forward next two games for sure. I think this one, like you said, Fish, had the potential to be a kind of trap game because of the mental, rhythm of it. But like you said, 66 points, they couldn't pee a drop. Good win for the Noles. This is the way it should be, right?
No doubt.
You and Mark, to your point, they were FSU was 4-12 on third down and 4 of 5 on fourth down. And of course, defense, a spectacular effort. I mean, offense put 66 points on the board, but I mean, Southern Miss had nowhere to go on offense. I mean, FSU again had a good fourth down stop, but just could not get untracked. And listen, at one point in the second half, up until the point that Southern Miss scored their touchdown to get to 10. They had more penalty yards than they did total yards. Yeah. To your point, Fish, they were penalized 13 times for 90 yards. And listen, they did not look like a well disciplined football team for sure. You got guys getting penalties for talking, and a guy who took a cheap shot at Jordan. I mean, it wasn't ugly, it wasn't terrible what he did, but it was after the play and Jordan was on the ground. But yeah, I agree with you, Fish. I don't think I didn't think this would be a close game, but I thought Southern Miss might, I thought it would be about what we all said, 49-14, 17. I think we all had picked that kind of thing. But I think after coming off the LSU win, Mark, as you said, you have to be impressed with what you saw. FSU got a chance to play a ton of people, and that bodes well for the future. I think we all saw some guys that we really liked come in this game late, but Florida State totally dominated this game, certainly defensively, and I would like to go back and find out on third down how many times they had third down drops. There were a significant number of drops in the first half. Seems like they kind of got settled in the second half and kind of cleaned that up a little bit. But, I think that but again, as you guys said, it's hard to find a whole lot of negatives in this game, and you really just nitpicking, right?
Yeah, 100%. Again, think good things. Trey Benson, with some really nice runs, zipping through the hole. And then that one run where he started right, came back left, outran everybody. That was nice to see. Keon with his hurdle, right? That was a pretty spectacular play. He almost came down with a great catch. I guess it was the first quarter. Kind of threw it, underthrew the ball a little bit, and he went up against two guys. He had it in his hands, and the guys, stripped it as he was coming down. And then, again, Johnny Wilson with the drops, and some of those were really tough catches, but still, he had his hands on it and, hitting the ground, the ball popping out. That's got to get cleaned up for sure if we want to be, our best.
Yep. And listen, I think one of the things that we did see improvement on, and I'll ask you guys if you agree with me and what you saw during the game. But we saw some coverage assignments against LSU that were not carried out properly. That was one of our questions going in. Could they clean up some of those mistakes? And for the most part, I think they did that. Again, 35% completion percentage for Southern Miss, and really, I think the average yards per completion was. It's 14, and they got a lot of those late. But listen, I thought you saw some improvement in the defensive backfield, and when you take into account that you played a lot of guys, or young guys, late in the game, starting in about the mid third quarter, Mike really started, getting the second team in. We saw him trickle down to the third team, and then even got some guys that are probably further than that down the depth chart in the game across the board. But what were your impressions of the secondary? Just because we did talk a little bit about that as being one of the spots we would like to see FSU perform better in than they did against LSU.
I mean, go ahead, Fish.
No, I thought it was nice to see Jerry and Jones get that pick. He's kind of had an up and down career at Florida State, and he doesn't stand out anymore, which is a good thing. When he used to stand out, it was for a bad play. Now he made the big play tonight. So I think the secondary, it's getting better. There's talent there. There just seems to be maybe some communication issues on the back end every once in a while where they have breakdowns that didn't seem like they had them tonight. But those concerns were there after the first game, watching them against LSU. I just saw a lot of guys open. So it'll be interesting how they do moving forward.
Yeah, and talk about young guys. Blake Nicholson, the official stats has him as the leading tackler of the ball game. Fish, and the one thing that we knew that Blake could do coming in here was run. And you and I were texting. You mentioned him. He certainly is a guy that has come a long way since he stepped on the football field for the first time in August. You got to remember, he was not here for spring, showed up in the summer, had played all over the place in high school, right? We saw him a lot off the edge, some at safety. He'd even go out and cover the opponent's best receivers. And what most people don't know is Blake was the starting running back for his football team. So this is really his first dedicated time at inside linebacker. So Fish, I'll let you expound on Blake. You were very impressed with him.
I don't want to put this pressure on him, but I saw a lot of Brian Cushing in his film in high school. The two of them on one play in this game, he dropped back into coverage. He almost had a pick near the end zone. That's something you don't expect to see from a linebacker. If they can cover, you're talking potentially a guy that could play on Sundays. I mean, Mark will tell you that linebackers that can cover are like unicorns. If you can find those guys, there's a lot of coaches looking for them. He almost had two. He had another play where he just shadowed the defensive player all down the field, and I was like, wow, this kid has football instincts. He's got a high football IQ. So I think you saw that he's raw, and there's things that he needs to do. But once he learns how to play the game, I feel like this is an all SEC, potentially all American type football player. I really do. So,
do you know something we don't know? Are we going to the SEC?
All ACC. I'm sorry, man. It's late at night, man.
It is late, man.
All ACC, man.
I saw the same when he that interception he had that was out of bounds.
Yeah.
When that back went out of the backfield, you could see him seeing it and he read the wheel route right away. I mean, he shadowed. He was in his hip pocket the whole time. I thought that was pretty good. I mean, I agree with you 100%. Wish he would have, stayed in bounds, made that pick. That would have just, put a bow on that play. But yeah, great.
But Mark, what was the last time you saw a linebacker at FSU do that? I mean, it's like that's a rare treat. Like it's impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is good instincts for sure.
Well, listen, we're going to spend because of the nature of the game, we're going to spend most of our time tonight talking about the young guys. But one of the veterans that stood out to me on defense, and he did it again, he did in the first game against LSU, didn't play a ton late, but Dennis Briggs had 3 tackles, 2 solos, and a sack, and a TFL. He really seems like he is settling into that defensive tackle spot now that he's dedicated there. Did you guys get a chance to, or did you know just Dennis at all early in the game?
Yeah, I did. I mean, he was disruptive for sure. He looks fast again, quick off the ball. He's getting off blocks. Saw some of the same things you saw. Real disruptive. He and Fisk in there make a pretty good combo because they're both pretty quick off the ball, and they're pretty violent when they come off and disruptive and are getting off blocks really well. So, it's 2 games in a row. They've looked really good. Throw Farmer in there too. He's hard to move. And, again, Fabian Lovett was in there. But, again, I said this last week of those 4 guys, he's probably the least impactful at this moment. And again, I know he's not 100%. He's powering through it, but that's really good to see. And hopefully moving forward they keep up this level of play. 100%.
Yeah, all right. Fish, we knew this was a talented bunch of young DBs. We saw Quindarius Jones. He really stepped up. He had a nice tight coverage play. He had a pass broken up. I had him for a TFL. We saw Edwin Joseph. I had him for 2 passes broken up. And Conrad Hussey played early. Obviously, that's a guy that can run. Just your thoughts on those young defensive backs, what you saw from them.
Yeah, I thought Hussey had the pick. I don't know. It looked like they made the call. It looked like a great play that he made. Jabril Rawls was in there.
I saw him. Nice open field tackle.
Made a nice open field tackle. And he got back in coverage. These kids are all got the same traits. Big, long, athletic kids. Edwin was a receiver, but very similar to Xavier Rhodes coming out of high school. Was a receiver in high school and converted to a corner in college. And he looks like he's going to be a really good one. I honestly think the network's really messed up on that one. He was rated like a 3-star most of the year. You're talking a kid that should have been a high 4-star kid. And another one that could potentially play on Sundays. Yeah, that's what you're trying to recruit is these guys. They're either the 5-stars or guys that have enough raw skill set that you could develop into an NFL guy. If you get those guys, you're going to have a special football team.
Yeah, we've wanted to see if they could build some quality depth at defensive end. Jaden Jones came in. I thought he played well. I know he had at least 1 pressure. I don't know what he was. I'll try to find his stats. He had 2 tackles. I had him for a tackle for loss. That does not show up on I had him for a pressure. That does not show up on the stat sheet. But certainly it was good to see him step up. We got to see a little bit more of Byron Turner Jr., another kid that had 2 tackles. Just what are your thoughts on those guys up front?
I mean, I saw those guys, and they were fine. I mean, they were at the time of the game they were in. There wasn't a whole lot going on, but at the same time, they did what they're supposed to do. Again, just raw. You can just see, there are a lot of things going through their head, but they've got some talent.
Yeah, Fish.
As far as what I missed the question.
Oh, the defense, Jaden Jones and Byron Turner Jr. Jaden did not play much at all against LSU, and he looked like he's starting to get more comfortable. Obviously, he's returning from a knee injury last year. Did not go through spring, and is a guy that seems to be getting better and better as they continue to move through the season.
Yeah, I mean, when you play these type of games, it gives these younger guys an opportunity to play. And we talked about it before. This is how you build championship teams. This is how you build them over not just 1 year, but multiple years. Those guys all look good coming in. Last week I told you I thought, I forgot that, he was number 4. I call him 44 because he stands out so much. Farmer, I think he's the best defensive tackle on the team. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. Some of the other guys, Briggs looks like he's fully back to being healthy and stuff. And that was a big thing. Briggs has always flashed potential, but the consistency in doing it week in and week out, he kind of has great games and then disappears, has a great game and then disappears. So it's a good thing to get these games. They played a lot. Like I told you, I saw your brother out there playing. I swear I saw this. I think Mark even got 1 or 2 reps. I'm sure he could have got in there, but they literally emptied their whole belt. I didn't know who I thought maybe they signed so many transfers and all these guys that came in. The Cottrell kid, I was like, who's this? I mean, I didn't know he was a walk-on, but it just seemed like every guy played. The only one that I didn't really see in there was Lamont's kid. I don't remember seeing him getting any reps. I guess it looks like at this point he'll just redshirt this year. But I mean, there are guys that it didn't seem like that many guys that were on the roster didn't play. I mean, I even saw like they were in. I thought I saw Schrader play on the offensive line in the fourth quarter. There was some other old lineman, so it seemed like literally everybody got a chance to play today. It was empty the bench day, so.
And AJ Cottrell had 2 tackles today, one closer to the line of scrimmage and one out in space, where he might have got caught up inside a little bit, but hustled to make the play, just got enough of the guy's foot stop him from really, he was headed towards end zone. I think he had some support from a corner on the sideline, but good for AJ. A lot of these guys got in the game, and I think it's what I think it will help Florida State down the road, particularly these guys on the second team. And let's move over to the offense. We saw 4 quarterbacks play. Tate came in with 3 for 3. Biscuit had him a touchdown. Listen, I'm gonna tell you what. Once he got that full head of steam, I don't think anybody on Southern Miss's team wanted any part of that. I mean,
no, sir.
That would be like running into a damn Mack truck. And listen, all those other guys, Bell and Morlock, and listen, they've earned it, right? They're both.
Southern Miss wanted no part of anybody on that team. Let's be real. I mean, like they conceded that. I wasn't there. You guys were there, but I think they conceded 5 minutes into that game. So.
Yep. Yeah. Listen, we got to see Brock Glenn. He looked really, really good. I mean, he shows off his athleticism. I'm not even sure. I don't think he did not throw a pass. But you got to see his athleticism with the run. They came in, and then of course AJ didn't. I don't think they even gave him a chance to throw the ball either.
What was Tate's quarterback rating?
100,000%. He was 3 for 3.
3 for 3, 2 touchdowns and about almost 100 yards, right?
My question to you, Pat.
Hold on, caller. He is
Colin.
Caller. Hold on.
Oh, I thought you called me Colin. I'm like, I know it's late.
First time, long time.
Caller. First time, long time. All right, 424.4 was his quarterback rating.
My question to you is Glenn coming in third, is that something they're going to switch next week in the BC game, that AJ will be are they like alternating those two, or does that tell us that he's further up the depth chart at this point?
My takeaway, just looking at the fact that they let Tate throw and did not let Brock throw, is that Tate is the backup right now.
No, I'm talking about 3 and 4. Was it, in your opinion,
between Duffy and
Glenn? Is it Glenn the clear number 3 and Duffy moved to number 4 in your opinion?
I think it is. Listen, I thought Brock was going to make a strong push for the second team quarterback, and obviously, Tate's got some experience that Brock doesn't have. But yeah, I think they played him just like they are on the depth chart, and I'm not sure that that's going to switch very much moving forward, particularly as long as you like to say they keep Jordan Travis upright. So, but yeah. Yeah, so listen, we'll see how that goes. As Mike will tell you, that's competition every week, and at times both of those guys have looked better than the other during the course of fall camp. And but yeah, listen, it was nice to see Tate come in and be very, very sharp. That was a nice little play. They ran to Van Trevius Jacobs, who scored his first touchdown as a Florida State Seminole, and it might have even been his first catch. I think that is correct. I don't think he had a catch against LSU. I'm not even sure he played against LSU, but Van Trevius, 1 catch, 13 yards. So that was nice to see. But yeah, I think that I think Mike played him in depth chart order, and I think that Brock did. Our opinion in fall camp was that Brock had done enough to separate himself from AJ. So I do think that's the case. Now, Mark, we saw, as you mentioned, Fish, we saw Schrader in the game early, Armella. Estes, I was really impressed with Jalen early. I had him for at least, he had 3 really nice blocks. He had a really nice block on, I believe, the touchdown run for Keziah Holmes. And then I had Schrader with 2 really nice blocks, Estes with a really nice block. Those are the guys on the young guys on the offensive line that stood out to me. So, I would like to get y'all's take on who you thought stood out as far as reserve offensive linemen. And listen, we finally got to see, I know, Fish, you've been asking about Julian Armella a lot, so I'd like to get your feedback on what you thought of him in this game. And you too, Mark, but what did you think of the young offensive lineman?
You want to go first? Or you want me to go?
There you go. This is your expertise, man.
I thought early looks smooth. That guy's he's athletic. His accuracy of movement is really good, and he can bend. I think that kid's going to be a really good player. Armella is still looking a little raw to me, kind of like a blind dog in a meat house. I mean, he's aggressive and he likes to come off the ball and he likes to push guys around, but he's like, which way do I go? Which way do I go? You know. But you know, he makes it mistakes. I won't say they're mistakes, but he does things full speed for sure. I think early was like, it looks a little more polished to me. The inside guys that came in, you know, they are big, strong dudes. You know, once they locked on, they were on them. You know, and they didn't meet a lot of resistance or a lot of quick movement. So you know, they look like the kind of guys to me that once they lock on, they're gonna move some guys. You know, so yeah. And you know what? We ran the ball better with those guys in it than we did with the first team guys in. Yep. So yeah. You know, I know a lot of that has to do with, you know, they pretty much gave up too, but you know, at the same time, they did a nice job.
Yeah, listen, we got to give a shout out to Thomas Schrader. He has battled injuries since he got on campus, and really, it was nice to see him get in there. And he did look good. We knew he had a mean streak in him. He's been set back by injuries, but it's always nice to see that. But Fish, it's your floor, offensive line.
I mean, listen, I'd have to go back. I really have to. I like to go back and watch a second time. Once again, I saw holes. I got to see who made those holes. I mean, on Keziah Holmes' run, he ran through a big hole.
That was Jalen early.
Yeah, I mean that was honestly. I don't want to say I could have ran through it because I could have given you 5 yards once I got through the hole, and I probably would have tripped. But he did. They opened up holes. Whoever was in there, it just always seemed like the offensive line. When we talked about this in the LSU game, they reset the offensive line and line of scrimmage over and over and over again, and they seem to do it in this game as well. I don't remember a lot of plays where guys got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Even the Hill kid came in and he dominated running the ball. It just seemed like whoever they brought in was going to have success running. So I'd have to go back and look, like you said, early looked really good. I'm an Armella fan. I just, you know, yeah, he makes mistakes, but I'd rather have a guy that makes mistakes and they're aggressive making them. And I still think once he cleans all that up, he's going to be a really, really good player at this level.
Oh, I do too.
He's just got such a nasty streak to him. And we've talked about he's probably more of a natural guard than tackle at the end of the day. But these guys, this is very important because next year you have a lot of guys leaving on that O-line, and you want these guys to have reps. The number of reps that the starting five have taken over the last 2 or 3 years is pretty impressive. A friend of mine sent me the numbers of how many reps and starts these guys have. It's as I think it's the best in college football as far as how many reps. So a lot of these younger guys, you want to get them prepared for the future so that when next year comes, it's still a strength of your team, the offensive line. You don't have a step back because the guys don't have experience. And this is how you build a team. You build depth by powering through teams like Southern Miss and getting those second and third and fourth guys in there. And that's how you become one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country.
Yeah, I think you need to give a shout. I think you need to give a shout out to Darius Washington getting the start today because I guess Marty Smith was out today.
Yep.
Did a pretty good job. Did a really good job actually.
Yep.
A little bit I saw. So shout out to him for sure.
Yeah, and we also got to see Chris Otto play, a guy that we like coming out of Key West. Fish, you were on him early, and when you told me about him, I looked at his film, and I 100% agree with you. But he's been very impressive in camp for a true freshman. He got his first action. We saw Quayshawn Sapp in the ball game, and then we got to give a shout out because we know we've got a proud parent that we're friends with. Mark, we got to see Ben Osceola in the game. You know, Henry and his uncle Joe, who both played at Florida State, had to be ecstatic about that. That's a kid that walked on here as a tight end, made the commitment to becoming an offensive lineman. We went from about 240 to almost 300 pounds, and he got his first action as a Seminole. So congratulations to the younger Osceola and to both his dad and his uncle, because that had to be a huge moment for those guys.
Yep, good for the Joe Henrys.
That's right. All right, and then
I'm excited to see how many guys you say eventually played in this game, or how many actually played, because I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot.
I could read through some of the names, but
I'm just saying, how many? It'd probably be easier to say how many didn't play, and then you can figure out.
Right.
But hey,
don't worry, we'll get the Pro Football Focus numbers here soon enough. I'm sure.
That's right. But we saw Daniel Anderson in the game. He made a hustle play, made a tackle on the sidelines. We saw Daniel Lyons tackle at the line of scrimmage. I mean, You're right. There are a ton of people that played. Jarrell Powers got his first action. He had a key block on the Ventravius touchdown out in the flat from Tate. Listen, a ton of guys played. You're right. Brian Courtney played.
I was going to ask you if Courtney played because I did see. I know that Nicholson played, and I thought Cottrell was originally Courtney. What number was Courtney?
Oh, well, Courtney's back on offense. He played at tight end tonight.
Oh God! Oh, the poor kid.
Yeah. So he's wearing number 86. They pulled 40 for him, but hey, listen, it was a good night for Florida State, 66-13 over Southern Miss. And listen, with the Alabama loss, it's possible that Florida State finds itself as a top 3 team. I haven't seen the rest of the results from the day, and obviously Texas will get a huge bump for what they did. But you have a team that will certainly roll into Boston College as a top 4 team, potentially a top 3 team. And listen, to your point, Fish, Boston College hardly got by Holy Cross today. They got to be saying, holy hell, Florida State's coming to Boston. And, we might get a chance to see a lot more, these kids play again for their second straight
You're going to suit up, Pat? You're going to get you and Salva are going to suit up.
Listen, I don't even know if I don't even know if I have one play in me. I might be able to run out of the tunnel.
But you guys got at least one play in you.
I could barely bend over to tie my shoes. Are you kidding me?
Mark? I believe you still have at least 1 or 2 good plays in you, man. Come on.
All right, guys. Well, listen, it was a dominating win. We're going to wrap it up. I don't know how much. I don't know if we have a whole lot of more insight that we can provide in tonight until we, as you said, Fish, watch the tape again. And Mark will be doing a second watch Sunday or second look Sunday tomorrow morning. You can go to floridastate.rivals.com or afternoon, and he will have what we call our second look Sunday thread where he will go through series and kind of recap the series. Sometimes he goes play by play. Mark's he's addicted to football, and we're happy to have it. And but he will do second look Sunday, and then we will come back on at 6 p.m. tomorrow night and have our Seminole Sidelines recap from the week, and we'll have a bigger team for that. And listen, just so you know, if you're not an Osceola subscriber, you can become an annual subscriber for $45.24 to score the LSU game by going to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com and entering the code FSU 4524. FSU 4524. So we appreciate it. If you have not subscribed to the Osceola, please go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com and check us out. We will be back tomorrow. We appreciate everybody being here. It's been a long day for everyone, for the fans, for the team, for us, and we're going to wrap this thing up. But thanks for joining us tonight, and we will be back tomorrow night with Seminole Sidelines at 6 p.m. Mark, Fish, I appreciate you staying up. I know it's not always easy.
I'm going to go first impression my pillow.
Okay. All right, Mark, sign us off as always.
Go Noles, scalp them.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Take it easy.